Your Life or Your Money. November 21, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. We all need to understand that FRNs are not your money. Never were. Federal Reserve notes are IOUs that belong to the Federal Reserve. They are private script, just like when you might give someone an IOU. They are responsible for paying it, but with what? They haven't used actual money since 1933. They've just passed debts around as money, and passed off their debts as your debts, as the presumed co-signers purportedly backing it. They've inflated this currency 98%, and this whole past month, they poured another $1 trillion of debt into the stock market, to prop it up at your expense. This serves to further indebt your family and bail out the corporations and banks at your expense. It also devalues whatever serves as currency yet some more, which shows up as inflation of prices at the gas pump and food stores and everywhere else. We've seen close to a 30% price increase for many food items here in Alaska in the past 3 months alone. Nobody is talking about it, but if you are paying attention or living on a limited income, you are feeling it and your discretionary income is evaporating. Worse, the value of any savings or retirement you have is evaporating, too. Their excuse for propping up the stock market at your expense is that they have invested heavily in all these corporations for you, using your money. So now they are throwing more of your money at these corporations and at the stock market, also for you, when in fact those stocks are grossly overvalued already, and the money markets and pension funds, which they also invested in for you, are based on derivatives and phony electronic titles and so-called mortgage-backed securities, which are also bogus. We have, unknown to us, been living in the land of Oz for almost a century. So, here's the picture: we are the actual, factual primary creditors of these banks, but they are pretending that we and all our earthly assets are instead donated collateral, backing their debts in a commonwealth, communist system of government that is in fact foreign to us. The land of Oz. The truth is easy to ascertain. We have literally millions of witnesses. Nobody outside the environs of Washington, D.C., was ever told what was going on. Not only were we not told a word about any of this, we were deliberately misled and lied to and coerced under color of law. By our own employees. To make things more interesting, the criminals in back of all this fraud and racketeering sought bankruptcy protection in 2009, and as a result, in 2011, all the Federal Reserve notes became utterly worthless, backed by nothing at all but the good faith of Congress, the same rogues that created the situation in the first place. Please bear in mind that Federal Reserve notes are not United States dollars nor United States notes, either. You must pay attention, close attention, to what you are holding in your hands. And in your bank accounts. So, there you are, misidentified as a municipal citizen of the United States, on the hook as the presumed co-signer for all these debts, and according to them, all your assets should be forfeit to their creditors, most especially, the Communist Chinese. Enter 2 factions of the U.S. military and a wild card. One faction, the municipal DoD, is happy to see America overrun and sacked for debts it doesn't owe, because the alternative is paying their own debts. They and their endlessly criminal U.S. Navy are on our backs, as if it were our fault that their Roman government is led by criminals and schmucks. The Territorial Department of Defense is stuck in the middle, having a contract and obligation to defend us. That's the second military faction. And then, there's the wild card. This is basically one man, who they shafted many times too often. He has, all by himself, locked down the hard asset accounts of the world, and nothing that they can do is of any avail. There they are, wiggling like dying bugs, or vampires, an encrypted computer program straight through their hearts, trying to convince us after all that has gone on, that digital currency is the way to go. If it were, they wouldn't be in the position they are in, would they? Held captive by a single computer geek. Digital currency is just more fiat on speed, having even less connection with reality. We would be better off conducting business using plastic clothes pins as tokens. At least such objects have actual substance and a practical use. The problem started with the Pope and the Queen, and ultimately, it has to come back to them, but in the vernacular world, we have trouble caused by bankers and securities brokers breaking the actual laws of our country and many other countries. And right behind that, we have problems with the politicians and the military, who are allowing the bankers and securities brokers to be a problem in the first place. So, what to do, if you are just one lonely little person in the midst of this maelstrom of deceit and malfeasance? The smart money says, 1. Redeem all Federal Reserve notes as United States notes. 2. Get yourselves some actual silver and gold coin as a hedge against the collapse of the domestic fiat system. We've been saying this for a long time. We are saying it again, louder. Paul has his Silver Mint Builder program up and running on his website and on www.annavonreitz.com. I have had good service from SBC Gold in Scottsdale, Arizona, back in the day. Another company getting good reviews is Patriot Gold. I have no direct experience with them, but they have a decent buy-back provision and good reputation. If you haven't taken action to buy some gold and silver coinage as a hedge, do so now, if you have any means to do so. It's just a practical fact that if this all goes kablooey, and it certainly could, the perceived value of gold and silver will skyrocket and offset the loss suffered by those holding paper. I can't advise you about how these prices will rise or fall or about how much is enough for your family or how long you may need to use such reserves. What I can say with some amount of certainty is that both gold and silver have a value as commodities and so far as I can see, always will. So, do you choose to use a domestic private municipal script, the Federal Reserve note, which is tanked? Or do you use United States notes, which are backed by oil and gas? Or do you use United States silver dollars, which are actual money? Or gold eagles, which are also actual money? The choice is up to you. These are commodities. You are the consumer. Do you want a wool sweater, an acrylic sweater, or a sweater made out of paper? Try to demystify money in your mind, so that you get a clearer view of what your actual options are. We are trying to get President Trump's attention riveted on the fact that we, the actual people of this country, who are not any variety of U.S. citizen and not citizens of the United States, exist apart from and above all this scrabbling and lying, and the actual assets belong to us. Only lawful persons can possess lawful assets. Our states are the parties to the constitutions and our state assemblies are up and running. We are owed all our actual assets back, free and clear of debt or encumbrance. So we are the ones who can put this country, and the world, back on its tracks via revenue, and we can legitimately and physically access American gold and silver assets. For all these reasons, there needs to be cooperation to gently transition everyone back to solid ground. Including the rats, who can drown just as well as anyone else. Until then, there are certain elements that think trying to save themselves via crash landing the world economy is the answer, and until their goose is fully cooked, prepare yourselves. You can never be hurt by having some extra groceries and fuel on hand, and you can never be harmed by having some gold and silver and other commodities for trade purposes. In the past, soap, chocolate, coffee, hosiery, feminine hygiene products, medical supplies, sugar, and alcohol have all been popular items for local trade purposes. I might add dried fruit to the short-term list, vitamin C, salt, pepper, other spices with long shelf life, and tea. Keep calm in the event of any emergencies and be sure that your signage is out in clear view, both the UN signs and private property, no trespass signs. And stay home. Do not go out into the streets if there are disturbances. Staying quiet and calm deprives them of any excuse for violence. There is no actual lack of abundance, no reason for anyone to suffer, just not-headed selfishness and arrogance and criminality in high places, especially London and Rome. One final note, the effort to successfully transition without violence is being led by your lawful government, the United States of America. You should know that this government is owed vast amounts of gold, silver, and other assets, but thanks to the criminality of what has gone on here, those assets have been locked down along with the assets of the perpetrators. As a result, everything is being run by volunteers and via donations, and until all these matters are resolved, there is no relief in sight. We clearly realize that winter is upon us. We are here encouraging you to do what you can to prepare for possible hard times ahead, and at the same time, our state assemblies and the United States of America need to be supported. Without a viable lawful government in the field, we have no chance of successfully recouping the assets owed to all Americans. Thus, we are all somewhat between a rock and a hard place. Needing to save ourselves and yet, support our lawful government, which serves to defend our interests on a worldwide basis. So, do what you can, and if you can't send money, send prayers for all of us. There are numerous outlets claiming to support this effort, some of them actually do, and some don't. Paul Stramer has a button on the www.annavonreitz.com website to help support the website and all the work that goes into that. There's also a donation button on the American States Assembly website, www.theamericanstatesassembly.net. That money goes to support that website and the sister website, signinamerica.net. These are fully approved efforts and needs as far as we are concerned, but don't directly support the legal team and other expenses of the United States of America, nor, so far as I know, do they support the state assemblies. Outreach and education are vital, but so is organization and postage money. We are the only properly declared, constituted, papered up, and viable American organizations of self-government on this continent. It falls to us to recoup the assets owed to all American states and to all Americans in general. We, and those who join us in reclaiming their birthright, are the only ones who have the standing and preparation to do it. If you feel a chill stiffening your spine, that's the breath of the patriots who have died defending this country, and who are now depending on you. Somehow, we have to pull together to do this with no great armies, with no great amount of money, just you, me, and the gatepost against the hounds of hell. I am still the paymaster for this operation on a country-wide basis. Please send whatever you can to my PayPal, avanavon@gmail.com, or by snail mail to Anna Maria Riesinger, C.O. Box 520,994, Big Lake, Alaska, 99652. Help prepare us as best you can, while also preparing yourselves. We are proceeding in a peaceful and lawful course in pursuit of justice and in the best interests of all concerned, according to our constitutional guarantees. Please take up the effort to organize your state assemblies and help other Americans properly declare and record their correct political status. There are still some states lagging behind that don't yet have state assemblies in operation. It is crucial for the people in those states to have their state assembly up and rolling. Failure to do this work provides an excuse for violence and asset seizures. Get busy. We are beginning to work with and poll the state assemblies for votes on international affairs issues. That is, we are now at the point that self-governance begins in earnest and we have a quorum to conduct business. Those states that don't get their state assembly organized won't have a voice in the process and may not even be aware of the issues, to the detriment of those states and their people. For all these reasons, it's time for everyone to stop the silly bickering, face facts, and get all the states of the Union assembled and working together. Please notice that YouTube's new censorship policies go into effect the day before I.G. Horowitz's report is released. We may reasonably infer that there is an expectation of need to shut down videos of crimes taking place, riots, or other disturbances of the peace during the second week of December. Please also note that such riots are already occurring in France and various other countries around the world, but we are suffering a virtual news blackout. Links to this article and more can be found in the video description box.